This is Andre Tachi Fili. You listen to the Verbal Scrap Podcast. Let's get weird.
This is the Shark, Anthony Avila. You listen to Verbal Scrap.
This is Justin, the Raw Deal Basement. You listen to Verbal Scrap.
This is Nan Fan, and you're listening to the Verbal Scrap Podcast. I'm a fighter. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to fight.
Hey, this is Dave Hirschbein, MMAGold, and you're listening to the Verbal Scrap.
I've worked so hard to do what I got to do in here. I took so much blood for this sport. I took so much pain, everything for this sport.
Hey, y'all, this is Zeke Johnston. You're listening to SRMMA.com Verbal Scrap. Stay tuned. They got some good stuff coming up.
We have some great stuff coming up here on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, The Aftermath. So much news in store for you coming from West Coast Fighting 6, which SRMMA was able to cover live. You might have checked out some of the main event results on SRMMA.com. We're a comprehensive combat coverage website. If you don't know about us, you can do all kinds of stuff at SRMMA.com. Plus, if you don't read English, you can translate SRMMA.com in 60 different languages on our right sidebar. Tell me how awesome that is. We got WFC 6 news, West Coast Fighting 7 news, Tachi Palace 16 interviews with Alexander Crispim going to be happening in August. We also got some UFC 163 review. The Golden Boy, Benito Lopez, is back from Greg Jackson's camp. He was training there for a couple months. He talked to us about his time there, training with some of the biggest UFC stars you could possibly imagine. So we got all that and more in store, plus a musical guest, TIGGO, TIGGO, and he's got his song we're going to be playing, Did All Three. It's going to be a full episode here on the Verbal Scrap Podcast, episode 48. For you guys interested, Dave the Badman Huckabee, you might be checking it out on SRMMA.com right now. He recently fought in World Series of Fighting 4. He fought Ray Sefo. He was originally scheduled to fight Roger Gracie a while ago. Gracie pulled out. Ended up fighting Sefo. It was an interesting affair. Let's listen in to what it sounded like when Huckabee was able to TKO Sefo in the second round, and then we'll talk more about World Series of Fighting.
I will give him one more low kick, and if he blocks again with his... That's it. I told you.
Ray got caught with his hands down. Ray's in trouble.
Huckabee is very smart.
That's it. That is it.
Wow, very impressive from Huckabee. He didn't close the distance. He kept Ray on the outside of his punches. It was perfect. You know, he smelled the victory. In normal, a lot of guys, they go in too fast. They jab themselves, you know, the punches are too short. He didn't. He played this very smart. Very impressive.
Cow.
It was quite impressive. Dave the Badman Huckabee, if you didn't know, he recently signed a multi-fight deal with World Series of Fighting. This was his first matchup in the organization, and it's going to be a huge one for him, getting a finish over Sefo. It looked like Sefo might be able to finish Huckabee towards the end of the first round, but Huckabee used his grappling to get out of that. It was crazy. It was an interesting fight. If you want more coverage, you can check out SRMMA.com right now. For you guys that don't know, we're brought to you by MMApink. MMApink is the female fighter apparel clothing line from MMAGold. You can also get it if you're a fight fan. You can just check out MMAGold.com for all the MMApink gear and more. Also, you can find it at Folsom MMA Gym in Folsom, California. They got an MMAGold store inside the facility, so check out more of that. Here on the Verbal Scrap Podcast, Luis Lethal Gonzalez was also able to pull out a big victory on the World Series of Fighting card. He finished Antonio McKee, he didn't finish Antonio McKee. It was kind of dispute. It was a technical decision. There was a little bit of controversy because apparently Gonzalez landed an elbow towards the back of the head of McKee. McKee had said before the fight that if he lost to Gonzalez in the WSOF 4 bout that he was going to retire. Pro MMA Now recently announced that Antonio McKee decided to retire after losing to Gonzalez at WSO4. He spoke with Aaron Truo of Pro MMA Now, so let's listen in a little bit more of McKee's interview.
There was a foul that happened. Tell us what happened and what was the result of the fight.
Well, I took an illegal elbow to the back of the head, and I couldn't see out of my left eye, and I told the ref to just give me a second. My vision was coming back, and he says, no, if you can't see out of your eye, it's over. I said, but it's just my left eye. I can see out of my right eye. And then he just stopped the fight. So, it's just, I think it's a time for me now to look at the youth in the sport and step down. I'm 43 years old, 44. I had a great career. I was honored to be able to fight for WSOF. I don't have any complaints. The guy was a tough wrestler, a good warrior. He's up and coming, young gun, and I just wish the sport continued to grow, and I have no hard feelings about anything, man. It's just my time to go now.
I mean, I've been a fan, and I've seen you fight King of the Cage, UFC, several shows around the world. I think here also more shows locally. But are you saying that this is it? This is the retirement for Antonio McKee?
Yeah, this is my retirement. I'm done. You know what? I gave it everything. I'm a great coach. I got a lot of studs coming up. I just don't have what it takes anymore as far as that second gear. It's, you lose it at 35. I've been able to hold on to it all the way up into 40, and now I think, honestly, before I take some serious damage in a fight, it's time to call it quits.
Antonio McKee calling it quits, retiring from his MMA career after losing to Luis Gonzalez at WSOF 4. We'll be able to give you more details from Luis's fight when we talk to him later on this week. You can check out SRMMA.com right now for more. Follow us on Twitter at SRMMA Tweets, or download us on iTunes. I know you guys are iTunes fiends. I get all my podcasts from there. You can also subscribe to the Verbal Scrap Podcast for free, so it don't cost you nothing. And hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/SRMMA. We're here on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast. I want to get into Benito, the Golden Boy Lopez, who was out training with Greg Jackson's MMA in New Mexico. He recently came back, and SRMMA caught up with him to talk about his journey. So let's hear the Golden Boy. It's Waugh from SRMMA.com. We had the pleasure of finally running back into Benito Lopez, Golden Boy. You were fresh back off your trip training with Greg Jackson in New Mexico. Tell me, what's one of your craziest stories that you never thought you'd be able to do, and then being at that gym, you maybe just found something that was interesting to you that you never thought you'd be able to accomplish there?
Just being there in general and training with next side-by-side with John Jones, Carlos Condit, all these UFC stars. It was awesome. Yeah, that's probably one of them for sure.
Well, being an amateur, what did it mean to be around those guys that have been on that pro status for a long time, especially guys that have been in UFC for a while and they've been able to handle that scrutiny, that media? What did that kind of rub off on you?
I think it just helped me. They definitely kept me humble there. They're tough, but it just showed me what the higher level of media is like. I went to the expo with them in Vegas, and they're my buddies. They're all my friends and teammates. I see them every day, but when we're out there in public, they're getting swarmed, and they couldn't walk without getting pictures taken or autographs. So it was awesome. It was cool to see that.
Well, being undefeated, being on the road that you are, now you got that kind of training. Have you been able to take that knowledge and put it into your life plan as to what you want to do in MMA?
Yeah, of course. I've always known what I want to do. I want to be the UFC champ someday. Hopefully I will be. I'm going to keep working hard for it. That's all it is. I just want to be in the UFC, always have been, and that's my goal, and I'm going to keep working for it.
Well, who are some of the guys that you've been able to train with, maybe some of the names that the fans might know and might be excited for you?
Okay, I'll go off a little list, I think. All right, John Jones, of course, Carlos Condit, Clay Guida, Eric Perez is one of my good friends, Goya, Kyle Noak, one of my good friends, Diego Sanchez, we were pretty good friends too, and then Frank Mir, Travis Brown, Cub Swanson.
Wow, I like that guy.
Yeah, the list just goes on. There's Aaron Riley. There's a few other guys. It can't pop to my head right now, but there's a lot.
Well, technique-wise, you seem pretty solid in this region. You've been able to pretty much manhandle anyone you've been in the cage with. Now you got that extra training. What would you say would be some of the tools that they helped you put into your toolbox?
They definitely helped me everywhere. I'd say they helped me a lot. Greg Jackson, that guy's like a science of MMA. He's like a scientist, I swear. I learned techniques everywhere, but I'd say probably my grappling got the most strength.
Well, for fans that are interested in checking out fights in the future, what's your game plan for the rest of the year now that you're back?
I don't have no game plans right now. Me and my manager are working on that, but I'm really, really excited to get back in the cage, show off some of the things I learned, because I learned a lot out there.
Well, last thing, any thanks or shout-outs for the trip? Any people you'd like to give thanks to for your time down there?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Coach Greg Jackson, Mike Winklejohn, and Joey Villasenor. Joey Villasenor was kind of like a dad to me out there. He took care of me, and he helped me develop more into a man out there for sure. And the whole team, Jackson's MMA. They're awesome.
You can find more coverage at SRMMA.com. Benito, the Golden Boy Lopez, you'll be able to find more of him later on this year. Check SRMMA.com for more. Speaking of the UFC, we're going to get into UFC 163 here on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, brought to you by One Fit Body. You can check out onefitbody.net for more information if you're in the El Dorado Hills area. You're interested in getting stronger, strength training, or physical therapy of any kind. Like I said, check out onefitbody.net for more. UFC 163 highlights. Jose Aldo took on the Korean Zombie, much anticipated for quite some time. Many argued whether Zombie should be in this title fight, but he got it. Let's check out the highlights before we talk more.
63, of course, we start with the evening's main event, the featherweight title tilt between the defending champion Jose Aldo and his challenger, the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung. Ultimately, Aldo gets it done, but Jung wasn't necessarily outclassed here.
No, he wasn't. He did a great job in the fight. He wasn't winning the fight, but he wasn't outclassed, as you said. Yeah. We saw a more patient champion tonight. Not a Jose Aldo that was jumping around the cage, trying to just put himself at disadvantages at times. He went and he had a wrestling-heavy strategy, which was surprising to a lot of us in here. Scoring takedowns on the Korean Zombie when we thought that in order for the Zombie to win the fight, he had to score the takedowns. And in the third round, Zombie started picking it up a little bit. Towards the end, jumped at Jose Aldo with the flying knee. Jose grabs the leg, nice scramble. Zombie finishes on the top. And then in the fourth round, a good fight. And then Jose Aldo, Korean Zombie, both throwing punches, overhand right, left hook. Zombie knocks his shoulder right out of place, right in the middle of the fight. Kind of hard to watch, but it shows you how tough the Korean Zombie is because he didn't fall down and quit. He kept fighting until the referee pulled Aldo off of him, and Jose Aldo remains the UFC featherweight champion.
Yeah, there was a little wince there from Chan Sung Jung, but he didn't want to disclose his hand. Certainly his toughness on full display.
And Korean Zombie, he like they said, he was extremely tough. His shoulder came right out of place while he was throwing a combination. It was pretty gruesome to watch. And just when he was starting to pick it up, it looked like Aldo was going to be the clear-cut winner if it went to decision. But Chang Zong, he got that warrior spirit, and you definitely want to see an Aldo Zombie rematch. I know I do. If you're interested in more coverage, you can check out the UFC's website for more of that. Also on the card, Lyoto Machida took on Phil Davis in the co-main event of the evening. Rather interesting affair. For you guys that didn't have an opportunity to check it out, let's first hear the highlights.
The co-main event, number 1 opposite number 7 in the light heavyweight division. Lyoto Machida, the former champion, taking on Phil Davis. I know my man Daniel Cormier has one eye on this weight class. It goes to the judges' scorecard. Phil Davis by unanimous decision.
This is the one where Twitter just about exploded itself. Everybody was just tweeting at us and everything. This was a close fight. It shows the depth of the 205-pound division. Phil Davis went in there with a game plan to be patient. This was his flurry in the first round from Lyoto Machida, but that was early in the round. Towards the end of the round, Phil scores a takedown and ends the round on top. It's about leaving a lasting impression in these judges' minds. At the end of the round, all they remember is Phil's on top of Lyoto doing damage. Second round, I thought, was pretty clear. Phil got the takedown again towards the end of the round, and he did more damage. Lyoto's always been slippery. He will always defend takedowns. This is nothing new. You cannot let it hinder you. Phil Davis did a great job of staying patient. More than anything, he tried to make Lyoto Machida lead in the exchanges. Lyoto's not willing to do that in most cases. Finishes on top in the second round, sorry.
That's right, and again, more of the same in the third round. As we see here, Lyoto did actually score a takedown right at the start. But then he didn't do enough, At the end of the fight, he wasn't happy, but he was hanging around and he was letting Phil Davis do his work. He needed a sense of urgency, and I didn't see that tonight.
Lyoto Machida, the loss snapped a 2-fight win streak for him, and it was a pretty interesting affair, rather close. A lot of fans had a lot of decisions. I personally was okay with Davis getting that victory, but, for you guys that are always interested, the rematch is always on the table with a guy like Machida. Here on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, brought to you by Lana's Egg Whites. Check out lanaseggwhites.com for more information on all kinds of protein supplements. We're going to be talking about West Coast Fighting 6 for you guys that haven't had a chance to check out SRMMA.com. Aspen Ladd was able to pull out a victory in the amateur title affair. She was able to kind of go through some punches and weather the storm, pull out the victory. We talked to Aspen after the bout, so let's hear Miss Ladd. It's Waugh from SRMMA.com. We're here at West Coast Fighting 6 post-fight with the victorious Aspen Ladd. Was able to win a West Coast Fighting amateur title. First, how does it feel to win that?
Fantastic. This is my second bout in 2 weeks. I'm happy.
Well, how do you go about celebrating so many titles, for someone that's so young in the sport?
You get another fight lined up.
Any news on when the future fight might be?
Probably October 5th.
Well, I wanted to ask you, you were telling me 5 fights, 5 months. What do you think about the young career that you've been able to accomplish so far?
It's all thanks to my team. MMAGold is the best around. We now have 4 amateur titles with this organization. And in 5 months, I've gone 5-0, 2 belts, and it's because of them.
Well, I wanted to ask you about MMApink. Dave let us know that you guys are going to be, you specifically are going to be one of the faces of the new brand. What does that mean to you?
It means the world, it's a brand new brand. It supports breast cancer. It's great. We're coming out with new stuff all the time. And, I'm going to be the female fighter face of it.
Well, the fight that just happened itself, it looked like your opponent was able to throw combinations often. What do you think about her early aggression?
I wasn't really thinking about it. I'm just trying to do what you're trained to do and get it to the ground and finish it. She just didn't tap, so she's tough, but yeah.
I was going to ask you about the armbar. It looked like it was in pretty tight. It looked like you adjusted it several times. I mean, what did you see there, and how did it go for you?
It was very tight, and there's a little bit of snap, crackle, pop going on, but she decided not to tap, and that's her decision.
Well, being involved with West Coast, now you got a title. What do you think this does for your future?
The future's wide open. I plan on going all the way with the sport. It's what I love to do.
Well, do you have any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go?
Of course, Dave Hirschbein, my manager, and Jim West, my head trainer, and all my other coaches and teammates, sponsors. I couldn't be happier. I love you all. Thank you.
Well, you can find post-fight coverage at SRMMA.com. I want to thank you so much for your time, and congratulate you, Aspen.
Thank you.
She was able to get the unanimous decision for the flyweight title in the amateur division. Arlene Culbreth defeated Donna Garza by split decision for the bantamweight amateur title of West Coast. Brandon Waltz defeated Nick Velez by rear naked choke 43 seconds into round 1. Jason Powell defeated Solomon Amadar by unanimous decision to take the amateur lightweight title. You might have seen Jason in our promising prospects section at SRMMA.com. It was kind of an interesting thing because they initially gave Amadar the victory and put the title around his waist, and then a few minutes later said, we got that wrong, and so Jason came back out to get his title. We were able to catch up with the gentleman Powell, so let's now hear his post-fight thoughts. This is Jay Waugh from SRMMA.com. We're here live at West Coast Fighting 6 with the victorious Jason the Gentleman Powell. It went down a little crazy, but first let's talk about the fight itself. It looked like he was obviously going to implement a wrestling game plan. You were able to sprawl well and often. I mean, what did you see inside the cage from him?
Oh, man, he kind of came out just like I figured he would. Really aggressive, trying to set up shots for a takedown. But man, Eddie, Jason, they really stressed throw with left straight, left uppercut just to stop him in his tracks. They bloodied him up a bit. He was able to shoot, I was able to sprawl, and just hit my knees from this position. He did take me down a couple times, but I'm a little disappointed, but man, he's tough. And I mean, I beat a 4-0 guy, so I'm pretty happy.
Well, it looked early on like you had hopped on a guillotine or maybe an anaconda. How tight was that? I mean, it looked like you were sprawling or rolling around with him for quite a bit trying to sink that in.
You know what? I did hit an anaconda. He was really good about keeping his base, so I think I actually kind of blew my arms out a bit. I was kind of tired after that, but he did a very, very good job. He's got Uriah Faber in his corner. He's doing something right, but yeah, he was very good defensively, and I just can't believe it went down the way it did, man. I'm pumped.
Well, like you said, the finish or the end of the fight was a little bit strange. They had announced it for Solomon, given him the title. You said you were backstage when they announced that the judges had given it back to you. I mean, what were your thoughts? First feeling that you had lost, and then feeling, obviously got to be relieved that you had just won.
I was very, very disappointed. Very disappointed at first. I wasn't going to be that guy that's going to think it's bullshit. If I didn't win, I didn't win. So I was very, very upset. It wasn't until I got backstage to where I hear him on the announce say, "Hey, we read that wrong. Sorry, get back here." And I right when he said that, I knew, oh my god, I just won it. So it was cool. It was cool. And for my fans to go crazy when he says that, it's like you can't even write that good. That's like a movie situation.
Well, I wanted to ask you now. You got the West Coast title. 2 questions left for you. One, how are you going to celebrate this? You got so many people here with you. I mean, what's the game plan for celebration?
The celebration is I don't want to remember tonight. I'm just kidding. I actually want to celebrate with some mountain mics and then hang out with my buddies, my family. Yeah, just very happy. This is my second title now. I feel like I'm becoming a Benito Lopez. No, I'm just very, very happy right now. I love my girlfriend Morgan Madden, by the way.
Oh, well, you can throw her into my next question. Thanks and shout-outs. Who do you got to give some credit to?
Morgan is my baby. I love her to death. Jason Peets at Standalone is the man. Eddie Cole, Braden Clements, Jake Shealy, love you, buddy. Dave Hirschman just picked me up for MMAGold. I'm so excited about that. God, everyone, Benito, Tyler Diamond, Brandon Waltz, he just won and choked his guy out. It's just a good night right now, and I love you too, buddy. I really do.
Well, you can find post-fight coverage at SRMMA.com. Congratulations on being the new amateur champion, Jason the Gentleman Powell. Also at WFC 6, Oscar Gall defeated Michael Hutchins by triangle choke, 3:29 into the first round. Tom Cook also defeated Tremaine Smith by coming back, winning by rear naked choke at 3:59 of the first round. Juan Quesada defeated Adam Porter by TKO. He's been training really hard in preparation with guys like El Nino for this fight. We were able to catch up with Juan after the bout, so let's hear Mr. Quesada. This is Jay Waugh from SRMMA.com. We're here live at West Coast Fighting 6, post-fight with the victorious Juan Quesada. I wanted to ask you, coming into this fight, what did you think about your opponent before coming into this, training and what you've been able to put in? What were you hoping to get out of it?
Well, I was definitely hoping to get a win out of it, but I just knew the guy was a tough guy. He's ready to come in and fight. He ain't going to be no pushover. So, just try to stay prepared and do everything I can to be ready for any part of the fight that it went to, And thank God I got lucky and got that TKO.
Well, I wanted to ask about your wrestling. It looked like it was really solid. You were able to kind of, at times, get out of hasty situations that he was trying to counter with your wrestling. I mean, what have you been working on in the gym to kind of benefit that?
I really got to give all the thanks there to El Nino Sports Academy out in San Francisco, Gilbert Melendez, all his guys. I work a lot with them. Them dudes are slamming me around on a daily basis. So it's kind of hard not to get better at wrestling when you working with those type of animals, man.
Well, you're undefeated at West Coast Fighting now. I mean, what do you think about the show, the spectacle, and what do you think you'll be able to do inside their organization?
Oh, man, I love this organization, man. This organization shows me so much love, man. And all I can really do, man, is hope to just keep growing and just keep taking steps up to the top, man. That's all I'm asking for, and that's what I'm going to continue to keep striving to do, man.
Well, it looked like you were surprisingly able to have a good amount of fans. I mean, what did you think about the experience as a whole now that you've had a chance to think about it and the fight itself? Oh,
man, the experience was awesome. The support I get, man, is amazing, man. My family, my teammates, everybody, I'm just lost for words, man. I'm so happy right now, man.
Well, do you have anything lined up for the rest of the year? And if not, what are you hoping to do?
For sure, I got here, West Coast Fighting again, November, I think it's 16th or 19th, one of those. And God willing, I can get something in between then. Nothing set in stone, but I'm definitely up for something. I'm in good shape, and I want to keep the ball rolling.
Well, do you have any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go?
Oh, definitely. Definitely like to shout out to my man, SRMMA, SRMMA.com. Appreciate the interview. I appreciate the love, man. Thanks, Rick Rieger, Gracie Fighter, Moses Baca, Team Black, Dan Black, my whole family, man. If I forgot you, I'm sorry, but you guys get it, man. Thank you, man.
Well, you can find more coverage at SRMMA.com and check out my boy Juan in November, going to be fighting for West Coast Fighting. Kenneth Alexander defeated Billy Carruthers by guillotine choke in round 1. Dre Mitchell took KO of the night by defeating Maximilian Gardner in first-round knockout fashion. Josh Emmett also defeated Mike Ryan by guillotine choke. Jordan Bailey took out Derek Formosa by TKO, and Jory Cabezas defeated Mikhail Venikov by Kimura. In round 2, it looked like Venikov was going to be the guy to take it. He was dominating most of the fight, but Joey did not give up. I spoke to him after the bout, so let's hear Mr. Cabezas. This is Jay Waugh from SRMMA.com. We're here with Joey Cabezas, post-fight, victorious. You were able to pull out a win that looked like it came out of nowhere. What do you think about Mikhail Venikov after you were able to go against him?
Well, I was happy to go against him just because he's a tough dude. It's good exposure for me. I knew he wasn't too well on the ground, so if he took me there, I figured just work my jiu-jitsu and try to get good angles and try to finish it off like I did. The standing, he was catching me a little bit, but I finished victorious.
Well, Venikov, he looked like he was a really strong guy. He was trying to wrestle you most of the time. I mean, did you expect that coming in being a team alpha male guy that he was?
Yes, I did. I expected it 100%. My record goes, I've been pushing myself since wrestling's my weakness. I've been feeding myself a bunch of wrestlers just so that way I get that tough part out of the way. I know how to work against wrestlers, so I figured do it young in my career so I get stronger, get better, and wrestlers ain't going to be shit to me.
Well, I believe you were also on the War MMA card, right? And it came out the way that you weren't looking forward to, but what do you take from a fight like that moving into this one? How were you able to overcome that disappointment and become victorious in this event?
Well, it wasn't really a disappointment. It was a great honor being on that card. I didn't feel I got defeated. I had him knocked a couple times, had him dazed, had him hurt, but the same thing happened. He's a lanky, good, like solid wrestler. He took me down, had me in good positions. Good for him, bad for me. But it was a split decision. It could have went either way, but I came here today and show I still got it.
Well, last thing, what do you think this West Coast win will do for you being on a card like you just saw with Mark Matthews, Sky Hands, and Still Smith, a lot of big names?
Nothing but good. Nothing but good's going to come out of this. So just got to sit at home, keep training, wait for the phone call, and nothing but greatness has come out.
Any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go?
I'd like to thank my team, some sponsors, my job, the man, everybody back at home, Lemore, and that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for interviewing me.
You can find more coverage at SRMMA.com and check out West Coast Comedy for more information. Back on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, Jeremiah Labiano also defeated Bernard Turner to take home the West Coast Fighting Bantamweight title by rear naked choke in round 2. And in the main event of the evening, Scott Hands of Steel Smith came back from a big losing streak, fighting a lot of personal demons to take on Mark the Machine Matthews, former Ink Master contestant. He was able to win by second round TKO. I caught up with Scott Smith after the bout, so let's hear his thoughts. It's Waugh from SRMMA.com. We're here live at West Coast Fighting 6 post-fight with victorious new middleweight champion Scott Hands of Steel Smith. First, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Matthews as an opponent? It looked like he came out ready to bang.
Hey, Matthews is a super tough opponent. I was kind of in a bad spot. You know, I'm expecting to win the fight. I take pride in his win because he was a very tough opponent.
Well, early on in the bout, it looked like he was trying to clinch you, out-muscle you against the cage, but you were able to land some precise knees, your uppercut. What were you trying to do in that clinch to kind of counteract that?
He was throwing some pretty heavy body shots and some good uppercuts. They weren't really affecting me. I could tell they were wearing him out a little bit. He was slowing down. I was eating him a little bit, waiting for the right time to strike. He did feel strong, but I felt like I had good control. He wasn't going to get me on the takedown, so I slowed down. Caught, I haven't fought in a year and a half, so I had to get hit a couple times, wake up, and then get in the groove.
Well, I wanted to ask you, like you said, you haven't fought in a while. What do you feel now? You said before you feel like you were rejuvenated coming into this one, a new man. I mean, what did you think after the fight's over? How do you feel now overall since all the changes you've been making in your life?
It's kind of a surreal feeling. I've never been so nervous going into a fight, going through a lot of mental changes in the past, 6 months, 5 months. And to be honest, I had a lot of questions myself. If I'm the veteran, I should win this fight. Do I really still have it? And I kind of mentally screwed myself there, but came out strong, and I just got to get active and be more active and be ready to jump back in.
Well, speaking of being strong in the second round, you were able to put on what you wanted to do, and it wasn't very long into the round that you were able to get the TKO finish. I mean, what did you see there? Is there something that he gave you that you just took, or did it just come to you?
I knew I started ringing his bell late in the first round. I got a little winded, but I figured I'd catch him standing up. I was filling the distance and separating with the elbows. I only caught him with a couple, but I knew it wasn't going to take long. I'd landed one good little hook that slowed him down. I felt him just getting wobbly. I was able to kind of toss him down and manhandle him from there. So.
Well, I had two more quick things for you. What did it mean to you to have the crowd and so many people hyped up with you from being from Elk Grove, Mark from Sacramento? Everyone was excited for this fight, and it had to be an interesting atmosphere.
Yeah, it was really cool, man. I love having these hometown rivalries. He's got a great crowd. I got a great crowd. He's had a great training camp. I had a great training camp. So this is what MMA is all about. Two great fighters, got a lot of respect for each other, and came out there and had some fun.
Well, last thing I wanted to ask you got the middleweight title now. Like I said before, it kind of puts you right back in the spotlight. I mean, how are you feeling now that you got it? What are your plans for the rest of the year to do with the belt?
To stay active and be a part of West Coast Fighting, do whatever Brandon needs me to do. I owe the guy a lot. He was he had my back when I went into my rehab. He had my back right when I got out, and he's always been there for me, so I want to be there for him and help support him.
Well, do you have any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go?
I want to thank Elk Grove Muay Thai crew, Rick, D1 Sports, my buddy Brandon and Donnie over there, Grips MMA Gear, Tom Atencio and his husband Lance. I want to thank them. And West Coast Fighting and Brandon, thank you guys. Aqua Hydrate. Hey, they've been awesome for me, man. They give me this water, help me get rejuvenated. It's awesome, man. You guys got to try it out.
Well, you can find more coverage at SRMMA.com. I want to congratulate you one more time, and thank you for your time, Scott Hands of Steel Smith.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
We're back here on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, brought to you by SRMMA.com. This is the Aftermath episode. We just got done with our West Coast Fighting 6 coverage. We're here today in spirit with all of the MMA fighters that were able to talk to us. We really appreciate all of your time. I wanted to get now into our musical feature. TIGGO is the title is Did All Three. For you guys that haven't had an opportunity to hear some more of the music that's here around the local scene, you can find him on Facebook and on YouTube. It's TIGGO. We're going to be having more with him on our next podcast, talking more about music and fights, all like that. Right now, we're going to feature his song Did All Three, and then we'll be back on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast.
I done took a bus before, I done took a train before, I done took a plane before. Did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough. I did all three, I did all three, I did all three to get my dough. I done took a bus before, I done took a train before, I done took a plane before. Did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough. I did all three, I did all three, I did all three to get my dough. Had a plug with the white, with the slugs with the ice, good trees in my blunt, 15s in my trunk, couple G's in a month, eating dinner for lunch. Could've made macaroni, all the cheese I touched. Hella cats be phony, they don't be like us. They funk over hoes, but we don't beef off butt. Got hustle in my veins, they don't bleed that blood. I turned keys and pushed and served fiends that good. Only thing that had me shook was the police and judge, cause they'd take your freedom, and you can't beat them. But I don't give a fuck for the cake, I'm leaving. And I done took a bus, a train, and a plane to see it. Yeah, I done took a bus before, I done took a train before, I done took a plane before. Did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough. I did all three, I did all three, I did all three to get my dough. I done took a bus before, I done took a train before, I done took a plane before. Did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough. I did all three, I did all three, I did all three to get my dough. One deep, no sleep for a week. No sleep. Dre beats, playing beats, and I'm geek. Turned up. Stay scheming like French for a meal. Cause you can't eat if you're sitting still. It's real. I travel for them big bands and kill them with my swagger. Call me Hitman. Gotta get back every time I'm doing bad. On my marathon like Nipsey, doing laps. Who is that? All the hoes wanna know, but I'm never home. I'm always gone getting dope. Your man pitiful. You should've chose with the GOAT. I be on the road checking what it's hitting for, yeah. I done took a bus before, I done took a train before, I done took a plane before. Did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough. I did all three, I did all three, I did all three to get my dough. I done took a bus before, I done took a train before, I done took a plane before. Did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough. I did all three, I did all three, I did all three to get my dough. Never been a criminal cause I don't get caught. I'm a fucking mogul getting bread like Togos. Pose for the photo in that rugby polo. Word to my nigga E Gunner, we going global. Yeah, dad, I'm focused, looking past the whole shit. Mind over the broke shit, flying over the ocean, striking like I'm bowling. On my way to the moolah, I see like I'm swollen, but I came from the sewer. Every day I maneuver until my tank on E, and nobody know what I'm doing because I stay low key. You an Indian nigga, you ain't no chief. You better ask about TIGGO, nigga, they know me. I done took a bus before, I done took a train before, I done took a plane before. Did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough. I did all three, I did all three, I did all three to get my dough. I done took a bus before, I done took a train before, I done took a plane before. Did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough, did all three to get my dough. I did all three, I did all three, I did all three to get my dough.
We're here on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast from SRMMA.com, presented by MMAGold, full-service fighter apparel and management company. If you want to check out more of their goods, that all the funds go right back into fighter management. You can check out MMAGold.com for more of that information. Like I said, here on the podcast, which you are downloading on iTunes, we really appreciate all you fans that subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. You can tweet us at SRMMA Tweets with the hashtag MMAGold for a chance to win all kinds of MMA Gold merchandise. You can also ask Tachi, Andre Fili. For you guys that don't know, we have a new segment with WFC featherweight champion Andre Tachi Fili, who you'll also be hearing another interview from today. You can ask Tachi anything if you tweet us with the hashtag AskTachi. Some of the awesome things I've seen so far. Someone tweeted, please tell us the ugliest girl you've hooked up with. I mean, that's great. I'd be interested in knowing that too. Every month we'll be having Andre Tachi Fili going ahead and answering some of those here on the show. He'll also be answering some on Twitter. So just go ahead and shoot us a tweet at SRMMA Tweets with the hashtag AskTachi. Once again, we're here on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast. We got Tachi Palace news coming up. Some more coverage of West Coast fighting with Max Payne Griffin and Andre Fili. We got interviews from both those guys. Some crazy stuff happening in their video interviews. You're going to have to check out SRMMA.com later to see some of that stuff that you're going to be hearing. But I totally am telling you, it's worth it. It's worth all your time. Some local fights you might want to check out if you're in Visalia. Coming up on the 24th of August, 559 Fights is going to be having their 16th event at the Visalia Rawhide Stadium with Rafael Hernandez taking on Manuel Ruiz in the flyweight division. If you're going to be in the Gridley, California area, or Sua Burns, NorCal Combat is going to be putting on another card for you guys that don't know. You can find them on Facebook, NorCal Combat. Idris Wasi is going to be taking on Dakota Sisk in middleweight division in the main event of the evening. And also, World Combat Series on the 24th is going to be holding an event in San Diego, California. You can check out worldcombatseries.com for more of that information. And King of the Cage, lots of news. Jaime Hara, Team Carnage reports that he's going to be competing August 17th. I'm going to be going down and fighting for King of the Cage. If you guys haven't had an opportunity to check out their preview, King of the Cage is going to be taking place the 17th at Gold Country Casino. Let's listen to the preview now before we hear some more.
August 17th, mixed martial arts action returns to the Gold Country Casino as King of the Cage presents Unprecedented. Zach Laurie and Josh Paiva will have to battle it out to see who will become the first ever junior flyweight champion. Then it's the return of Josh Hinkle in a battle against former welterweight champion Sam Liera. And Aaron Hedrick is back to his winning ways. But will Darren Cooley stop him in his tracks? For tickets, visit goldcountrycasino.com or call 800-803-1911. Fight cards subject to change.
King of the Cage, August 17th. Keep that in mind if you guys got nothing else to do with your day. Also coming around the Sacramento area on September 1st, Gladiator Challenge will be having an event taking place at Thunder Valley Casino on August 24th. Dragon House 14 will be going down with the Dragon House Flyweight Championship on the line between Alvin Kadek and Taylor McCorston. If you want more information, check out Dragon House MMA on Facebook and all kinds for more. Back here on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, we're going to be getting some coverage later on in the month from Tachi Palace. They're going to be coming back. They're having their next event on the 22nd of August. We were able to run in with Alexander Crispim, who's going to be competing against Sergio Quinones. I was able to talk to the man, so let's hear Crispim BJJ's thoughts on Tachi Palace 16. We're here live at West Coast Fighting 6 talking to Alexander Crispim. You're going to be fighting at the next Tachi Palace. You're going to be going against Sergio Quinones. First, what does it mean to you to be back involved with Tachi? And they had a little layoff. Did that scare you that you might not be back on a Tachi card?
Totally. First of all, I'm just very glad to be back to fight in a great event. I love Tachi Palace. I love how everything surrounds Tachi Palace, you know what I mean? They treat us very well, and now they gave me a great opponent. Last fight I did there last year, I didn't like the results, but took 6 months off, just put things in place, put the academy in place, my boys in place, they all winning, got that flow going, you know what I mean? Now it's my time. So today's Jeremiah and August 22nd.
What do you think about Sergio Quinones as an opponent for your Tachi Palace return?
Man, I got a chance to see some fights of Sergio. He's a pretty tough dude. He comes in fighting, you know what I mean? So right there, you're making him danger. So I'm going over there to take him very serious and do my best.
Well, Jeremiah tonight, like you say, he's going to be fighting for the bantamweight title here at West Coast. What do you think about the matchup he has with Bernard Turner?
Man, Jeremiah is a kid that impresses me every day in life, you know what I mean? Him and John Neal, they're like two kids, they're like, you don't need to tell them to come training. They're just so devoted. So, and that reflects on their career. You know what I mean? Now they're doing good. So I think Jeremiah today, he's going to be flying. A lot of people are going to be very surprised. Maybe it's not even surprised with the way he fights, man. He comes fighting.
Well, do you have any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go?
I want to say thank you for Rich from Tachi Palace, for Michael Bruno for giving me a fight, for once being there beside me. I want to say thanks for my family, for all Crispim BJJ family that always support all of us, and including myself and everyone else. So thanks for all the MMA fans, for you, and thanks for giving me that chance.
No problem. You can find more coverage at SRMMA.com, and Tachi Palace fights on August 22nd. You'll be able to catch this man in the cage. Back to you. Back here on the Verbal Scrap Podcast, the 48th episode, which you can download on iTunes. Hit us up on Facebook /SRMMA and on Twitter at SRMMA Tweets. We got some West Coast Fighting 7 news coming up for you with Andre Fili, Max Payne Griffin. We got a few more big UFC things to talk about before we let you go. UFC Fight Night 30 has just recently been signed, October 26th. Going to have Michael Bisping taking on Mark Munoz. Interesting matchup for those that have been waiting for something like this. Munoz was able to discuss some of his thoughts with Bisping about how he kind of has pillows for fists, so to speak. So let's hear a little bit more from Munoz about the matchup.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the fight. It's just a natural thing. Bisping won his last fight. I won my last fight. We're in the top 5, and now we're fighting to get a step closer to becoming a world champ. So that's how it came about, and it just makes sense. I believe I can be the #1 contender if I don't give anybody a shadow of a doubt why I won that fight. If I dominate that fight from start to end, then I'll let everybody know that I should be #1 contender. Bisping has already been talking, I know. I was at my camp doing 10 days of an intensive wrestling camp with a bunch of wrestlers, over 300 of them, and I had word. My phone was just blowing up, and people were texting me and tweeting me and all this stuff about Bisping, talking a lot of smack about me, but that stuff doesn't bother me. I show my talk inside the octagon, and he was telling me he was going to beat me into depression if I was depressed. that I'm going to go into more depression. But fact of the matter is, he has pillows for fists. He hasn't knocked anybody out, and he said he's going to knock me out. He hasn't knocked anybody out. It's going to be like a pillow fight when I fight him. You know, he's going to have pillows, and I'm going to have hammers. So who's going to win that fight?
I'm thinking Mark Munoz, in that analogy, wins the pillow hammer fight. And I'd like to report that Mark Munoz is looking really good in training, so I'd have to say this is going to be an epic matchup between Michael Bisping and Munoz. And speaking of the opposite of epic matchups, depending on who you are, Tito Ortiz is going to be coming back to the cage, going to be fighting in Bellator MMA, going to fight Rampage Jackson. Yeah, for you guys not interested, you kind of got to be interested on some level, because people who know me know my opinions on both of these guys. So I'm not necessarily interested in the fight. I'm more interested in the outcome and what the loser's going to be doing, considering both guys have 3 consecutive losses. So this is going to be an interesting fight. Tito was on Inside MMA, discussed a little bit of the matchup, so let's take a listen.
How many fights do you have on your Bellator contract, and what made you want to come back?
Well, I think the first thing is the reason I wanted to come back. You know, I'm in a peaceful place in my mind. You know, my surroundings are great. Great to be in a positive environment. You know, everything's just nice. My body's firing the way I want it to be. You know, my mind is active again, and my heart's there, man. I really just want to compete in a positive environment, and Bellator seems like a good place to be. You know, and I didn't want to go there really picking a fight that'd be easy. I want to pick a tough fight. So what better, tougher fight that I could find than Quentin Rampage Jackson?
Good point.
He is a great opponent. You guys have been training partners. We heard in interviews already. What is it that you have the edge in, and what do you think he has the edge in?
You know, I watched his boxing skills have gotten a lot better. You know, of course, I know he punches hard. I've been punched by him a few times. I know my wrestling's a little bit better than him, so I've been watching his takedown defense has been really good. But at the same time, my submission's always been a little bit better. But I think that's what just draws up and makes this bout that much more exciting to watch, because we know each other from in and out. We know what our weaknesses are, we know what our strengths are. But I'm just excited to get back in the cage and just show everybody how much better I can be with a positive mindset, and just focus strictly on training for the fight and going in there to dominate and be the old Tito Ortiz and show what I can do against my opponent.
The Huntington Beach bad boy wants a positive mindset coming into this matchup against Quentin Rampage Jackson. For you guys that also don't know, it's on pay-per-view, so think about how much money you're willing to spend to watch this particular matchup. But I will give Bellator props for making that happen, because, hey, people are talking about it. Speaking of Bellator 98 is going to be having Doug the Rhino Marshall taking on Alexander Shlemenko. For you guys that haven't checked it out, SRMMA.com, we got a full preview up right now. You can check it out all the way until September 7th, when the fight will be going down. For more coverage, SRMMA.com is the place to go. West Coast Fighting 7, Andre Tachi Fili going to be taking on Max Griffin. We caught up with both the guys. We're going to be playing you guys the audio from some of the video interviews we did. The videos, I have to say, personally, they're hilarious, so you're going to have to check out SRMMA.com later for more of this. But right now, we'll play you the audio of Andre Fili and then Max Griffin talking about their big matchup for Max Griffin's belt coming up later on this year.
It's Jay Waugh from SRMMA.com. We're here with Andre Tachi Fili, West Coast Fighting Featherweight Champion. Biggest news is that you're going to be jumping up a few weight classes, going to be taking on Max Griffin. I mean, he's been here tonight, so everyone's been saying, hey, you seen Andre? You seen Max? They're going to be fighting. Yeah. It's a little bit more real now that people have an opportunity to talk about it and kind of break it down in their head about the weight and stuff like that. What do you see coming into this matchup that's so exciting, other than just the name of fighting Max Griffin?
You know, I think our style is like matchup. It's going to be exciting just to make so much noise. I think it's the biggest regional fight in a long time. You know, I don't know how to say this without sounding pretentious, but I think it like means a lot to the scene. You know, like the local Northern California fighting scene. And you know, the coolest thing about it is, I mean, I saw Max several times today. You know, we shook hands and said what's up and hung out for a minute. He's a great guy. He's a great champion. Like, it's not a bad blood thing at all. You know, I can't stress that enough. I feel like a lot of the media, like, they want that. They want there to be like a good guy and a bad guy and like a feud. That's just not it. Like, if you're a fight fan, you should be excited that me and him are going to fight, because we're the two, you know, best guys around, and we want to see who the best person is, and that's that. You know, it's an exciting fight. We should be excited for that. It doesn't need to be bad blood. And, like, you don't have a bunch of fucking clowns like this guy around either. Whoever the fuck that guy is. Hey, sorry, fighters only, dog. No randoms back here.
Well, some people have said that this might possibly be a win-win for you. I mean, if you go up and you win, you beat Max, you're able to beat a guy with that name. If you lose, so what? You were up a couple weight classes. Yeah. Do you see it that way as a fighter? I mean, considering you're going to have to go in there and put hands on him anyway?
No, I don't. I really can't stand the idea of losing. Like, I wish there was some wood to knock on somewhere. I really hate talking about, like, losing. Just the thought of it bothers me. I can't stand losing. Fighting's really the only thing I'm competitive at. I don't give a shit about losing anything else. I don't want to lose a fight ever. So I'm going to do everything I can to not lose this fight. It's not a win-win. It's a win-lose, like every other fight. The harsh reality is that someone has to win, someone has to lose. But it's really the fans are going to be the ones that walk away, I think, with the best experience. We're going to beat the hell out of each other, and it's like I said, it's not out of bad blood. It's just because it's going to make noise. Like people are already talking about it 4 months away. That's what excites me, that we can do that we can get so much excitement. Yeah, exactly. That's fun to do. This is still, I mean, it's not new to me, but it's still fun to me. This is still like a cool experience, like looking from a third person in to be able to be like, oh yeah, like I made enough of a name for myself that now when me and Max fight, it's a super fight, or it's whatever you want to call it. Like people are excited, even on the local circuit. It doesn't mean much, but it's so exciting. So.
Well, I also wanted to ask you, you're going to be competing against a guy named Max. He's also a guy that many people believe have a similar style, even though you say that they don't. You guys do not have a similar style.
I think we have a very different style.
A lot of people think it's going to be a fight of attrition. It's going to be whoever can kind of give out first. Do you see that? And do you think that being at a lower weight class is going to be an advantage or disadvantage to you in that department?
I don't know. I think people put a lot of stock in how our size and our fighting styles and stuff like that, and it's obviously all those things factor in. Fighting styles and our size and all these things are factors, but at the end of the day, it's you versus another person in a fight, and no matter what the size is, or what you like to do, or what he likes to do, or what techniques he works, or what techniques you work, none of that shit matters. It's a war of attrition. Like, who's gonna quit first? Like, I'm not gonna quit. Like, I'm just not, and I don't think he is either. Like, I know he's not. I've seen him fight. I know for a fact he's not, and I know sure as hell I'm not gonna quit. So, you're gonna have 25 minutes probably of some badass shit going on. I don't know how else to say it more politely than it's gonna be a badass fight, and I don't think it matters, like how big we are or that we fight similar or different. Like, it's just about fucking fighting. It's gonna be awesome.
Well, last thing before you're here, I'm gonna have to ask you about the alpha male guys that were on the card tonight. Since you were here, you trained with these guys. And what do you think about the outcome? You had some wins, some losses, but you've been able to see these guys in the gym. What do you think about the way that they went out? You gotta be super legit like me. You gotta be super legit. Bam. They can't even touch.
Excuse me, I'm doing things here. If you could just be a little more mature.
But the alpha male guys on the card tonight.
Yeah, I'm really proud of all my friends. It's great to watch my friends. I was doing commentary, so it was very hard to not be biased, and I did my best to stay neutral. But it's very hard not to take off the headset and just fucking scream and yell like coach, So I did my best, and to stay neutral, I did my best to be fair, and it was very exciting to watch my friends fight. I got a great seat because I was commentating, and I'm proud of all of them. Win, lose, or draw, those are like brothers. We're like a big family. So you go through all the shit of a fight camp with them, and then you have to watch them either succeed or fail, and it's hard. It's hard to do that, but I'm proud of them.
Well, anything else?
I want to point out Dan Romero's pissing. Can we turn around? Dan Romero's peeing in public. He thinks he's being slick, but he's pissing. Turn around. Show him. It's okay. Show him he's pissing.
Thanks. Shout outs before we let you go, sir.
I want to thank Team Alpha Male. I want to thank Lucky's Barbershop, Leviathan Tattoo. Thank you, Base God, everyone who takes care of me, and I love you all.
And thanks to all the Alpha Male members that make this a great show.
Gold Country Bail Bond. Yeah, they bailed me out at like 19. I still owe them money for that shit. So.
I hear that every time.
Yeah.
Well, you can find more coverage at SRMMA.com. Andre Tachi Fili going to be taking on Max Griffin. You can find more information at WestCoastFighting.com. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, bud.
Awesome, man.
Later on this week, you'll be able to check out the full video from that. Max Payne Griffin going to be the guy Fili's taking the title from if he's able to come out victorious. So let's hear what Max thought about Andre wanting the opportunity to fight him. And you'll be able to hear something a little bit interesting that you'll be wanting to check out the video for later. It's Waugh from SRMMA.com. We're here with the silky smooth Max Payne Griffin. Looking ready for this interview. You're going to be fighting Andre Tachi Fili, some of the biggest news around here for quite some time. Did you think the news would be that big when you actually heard it, when it was proposed to you?
I definitely did. I just didn't think it would happen, just because the circumstances and just management and timing and the UFC being on the list and, man, it's going to be huge.
Well, Andre touched on the fact that it kind of sounds like a super fight, you know? Like, a lot of people are talking about it like this big, epic event. What does it mean to you to have a name like that around here that kind of has that pull?
He got that good pull. I think we both have that pull. So that's why we're fighting. That's why he wanted to fight me.
Well, what do you think about, your title being on the line against a guy that's already proven that he can win a title on the West Coast, but it's at a lower weight class? Do you see a weight difference being an advantage for you, or do you see him as being able to reach that weight and be a competitor?
It's going to be competitive. But I'm going to do what I do and do my thing, man.
You deal with that guy right there? Well, I wanted you'll be able to see later on. So I wanted to also ask you, preparing for a guy like Andre, he seems like a different guy than you've been able to find at 170. I mean, you've been able to fight a lot of game opponents, but he's a guy that doesn't seem to want to quit, always wants to fight. I mean, is that something that you're looking for in an opponent?
Got it, man. That'll be good. He's aggressive, and I usually don't fight aggressive guys, so it'll be to my advantage.
And something I've been wanting to ask you for quite some time. Does anything really get you amped up? I mean, do you ever get excited or angry or happy? I mean, I very rarely see many emotions from Max Payne Griffin.
Keto pissed me off. Keto pissed me off. But I don't talk shit. I just whoop that ass. So.
Well, two more things before we let you go. How's life been like as the West Coast champion since you've been able to redeem that title again? It was formerly yours. You got it back. I mean, did you get back the respect you were hoping to get? When you felt you originally lost it and you didn't think you lost it in a fair way.
To me, it's not about respect. I don't care what they think. You know what I mean? To me, it was just about beating Keto and getting these wins. I'm just moving up the ladder, and whatever I got to do, that's if being the champ gives me more recognition, then that's good. But I'm ready, man. I'm ready to move on and move up.
Well, last thing I wanted to ask you, a lot of people are shooting for the UFC, everybody's top goal, but it's becoming harder and harder because they're being able to acquire more organizations, more fighters. A lot of guys, including Andre, are trying to find ways to get UFC's attention by calling a guy like you out. I mean, do you ever feel that? Do you ever feel like you have to work to get the UFC's attention, or you're working to get any attention? Or, I mean, how do you take in your career one fight at a time?
They know who I am. I was on the show. They know who I am. The hardest part is, having Dana White know who you are. Joe Silva, know who you are. There's a million fighters. Probably not that many, but, everyone's a fighter. So, they know who I am. I'm on the radar, so I just got to keep doing my thing, and I'll be there.
Well, you can find more information at SRMMA.com. I wanted to give you an opportunity to give thanks and shout-outs before we let you go.
Hold on. You might have to edit this.
We got a list. We might need to do some editing. Edit point 1 here, if possible.
It'll be smooth. Okay. Lexani, Rolling Big Power, BAMP Fight Gear, Max Nutrition, Pacific Audio, Fallen Angel Tattoo, Cobra Source Magazine, Lana's Egg Whites, War Fuel, Mario's Barbershop, then my gyms, my home gym, Mara Noble's Elite, Morrissey's Elite, my guys I train with, Carnage, Mess with Huckabah, Team Voodoo. This was that a ball sack?
You saw it here first.
I saw a ball sack on video.
You can find more coverage at SRMMA.com. Thank you so much for your time, Max.
Thank you.
One last thing on the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, brought to you by MMApink, MMAGold, and OneFitBody.net. UFC, Fox Sports 1, going to be Shogun vs. Sonnen. That's right, Shogun Rua taking on Chael Sonnen. Quick preview before we finish the show and let you go.
Former UFC light heavyweight champion Mauricio Shogun Rua battles controversial superstar Chael Sonnen when the UFC returns to TD Garden on Saturday, August 17th. Plus, heavyweight contenders Alistair Overeem and Travis Brown collide, with the winner moving closer to a shot at the UFC heavyweight title. And the California kid Uriah Faber meets red-hot Brazilian Yuri Alcantara. UFC presents Shogun vs. Sonnen, live from TD Garden, Saturday, August 17th. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
That's right, Uriah Faber going to be back in action August 17th, so check it out this coming weekend. This has been the 48th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast. We got stuff from West Coast, Tachi, Palace. I want to give a shout out to my boy Benito, Lopez. Thank you again for making time. Thanks to all the fighters that make some time for me and every part of the SRMMA crew. You really make it happen. And a big shout out to the fans, the people that read it, the people that share it. I mean, you guys really mean a lot to me. There's a lot of quality people out there that support us. I really want to give a big shout out to Demetrius Bellamy. Big fan, likes
likes all our stuff. So shout out to you, man. Thanks so much for making that happen. And once again, to all of our sponsors, if you guys are interested in checking out some of the top MMA gear in the area, you got to check out Bomb First and 5150 Fightwear. They make some of the coolest gear around. So check out those guys. And a big shout out to everyone that does work with us at SRMMA.com and makes this happen. I want to really thank you guys for making dreams come true for the people involved with us and the fighters that talk to us. I really thank you so much for listening. And I hope you're back for the 49th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast. If you're listening to me now, you're listening to Dead Air.